We all good? We on? No problem. Take your time. Live? See it? Hey, everybody. How's it going? Just double checking a couple of settings here, and then we'll get started, guys. So just hang tight. I know, right? There we are. Woo! All right, everybody. I really appreciate you guys coming out. Thank you for joining us here for Beat the Heat with Thermaltake. My name is Mike Fearheller, aka Thermal Mike, and I work here at Thermaltake USA as one of the product managers. And I got my man here, Anthony from Newegg, that's going to be helping us out. And today we're going to be talking about liquid cooling. We want to be able to show you guys the aspects of what it takes to build a liquid cooling system. And then, of course, going over some of the techniques that we have for our hard tube builds. And we're going to be showcasing that here with our Core P5. So stay tuned, guys. We got a lot of coverage to go over. We're going to be doing 2 hours here. We'll be glad to try to answer as many questions as you guys have at the same time. And we're going to get started here doing some builds and talk a little bit about the products as far as what Thermaltake has to offer and what you can pick up here today at Newegg, of course. So let's get started. Now, I have here a Core P3. I've pre-set this up for time so that way you guys can see that I have my radiator mounted. I have my fittings all preset. I have my pump and reservoir installed. And then I have my CPU water block installed here too. So we're going to be doing a simple hard tube build for this that's going to incorporate the pump, the reservoir, and the CPU block. And we're going to show some techniques as well on what it's going to take to do some bends and some easy little pro tips as far as what it'll take so you guys can learn from home and learn how to do this stuff yourself so you can build, an amazing PC. So let's get started on this. So we have our pump, and then with our reservoir, we have our water block here, and then of course our radiator. So we want to complete the loop between all three components so that way we have proper flow that's going to be cooling our CPU, and then of course that coolant is then going to be returned and cooled in our radiator, and then returned back to our pump to complete the cycle. So we're going to choose PETG tubing for this build. This is our new PETG tubing from Thermaltake. It's a very durable type of tubing, and when you apply heat to it, what it does is it allows users to be able to bend into crazy shapes where you can do just about anything to make some interesting loops and looks for your system build. Like if you were going to do something for a GPU to CPU, you got a really cool idea. You can add some different aspects to your build by just doing something a little different, or you can stay more traditional with standard 90-degree bends and doing 180s, 45s, thanks to our Thermaltake bending kit. So right here I've mocked up, this is my little bending board that I have. This is housing our 3 mandrels here for our hard tube bending kit. And of course I have got my silicone inserts for our tubing that will be heating and bending. And then I have a simple heat gun. Now this is a 1500 watt heat gun. Nothing special, 10 bucks. Don't need to spend big money on a heat gun like this. Good 1500 watts is a good wattage range, and I usually run it on the high setting. And we'll go over a lot of details as far as what you can do with the heat gun, different techniques with the tubing and bending. And yeah, we're just going to jump right into it. So if you guys have any questions here as far as what we got on the live feed, just start dropping them in there and we'll just start answering as we go. So first and foremost, we have our PETG tube. When you pull out your tube, you want to give it a good inspection. Make sure nothing's, imperfections, and that, your tubing overall just looks nice and clean, doesn't have any scratches in it per se when you pulled it out of the packaging. Now we also have our inserts, and I got a variety of inserts that I bring with me because I like to use some different techniques. And taking longer piece inserts like this, I can take this and use this for a longer piece of tube, or I can cut this into shorter pieces like I have here, so that way if I'm doing certain types of bends, or I'm trying to complete doing intricate bends, I can then take just cut a piece off here and use this as like a separate tool. Something that can make it a little bit more easier for what I'm doing, how I'm bending, and we're just gonna get right into it. So I got my tubing here. Now, what I use is just soap and water. So this is nothing special. This is just soap with water. And a lot of the times, I'll take this and just get my insert wet. As you can kind of see how I got a little too wet, but thank you, sir. And then as we get our insert wet, here we'll be sliding this into our tube. Now this is going to keep the structure of the inside of the PETG tubing the same. So that way when we're doing our bends, we're not pinching our tube, we're not doing anything that's going to help prevent it from deforming the tubing while we're bending. So the insert's very, very critical. And a lot of this is making sure you get the right insert for the product. Thermaltake does sell this tubing. We also offer the inserts as well, and you can find it all here at newegg.com. Now that I have my insert put into my tube, we'll just give it we'll dry it off here just a little bit, kind of clean up our mess. Now we're going to take our heat gun and we're going to start doing some bends. First and foremost, I just want to just show some basic techniques, and then we're going to get into our P5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a simple 90 at home just to kind of show you the time that it takes, what it takes to do it, and then the cooling process just to kind of give you a ballpark. So as I'm heating this, you'll see that I got the tube fairly close to the heat gun. You'll also see that I'm rotating the tubing, keeping it spinning, not fast, but just keeping it spinning, a good amount, so that way you're keeping the heat evenly. And as the heat's going evenly across the heat gun here, I'm going to start seeing some pliability with it, so that I can see it's starting to move around a little. And we're just going to get it hot enough where we can do our bend, but at the same time we don't want to go too far. If we go too far with it, we'll start getting some abnormal issues with the tubing. And I think we're good right there. So that's about a good 20-30 seconds that you'll see. And then I got my bending thing here just to kind of show you guys at home. This is a 90-degree mandrel, and I can just place my tube right here to mount it in for a perfect 90 that I can achieve with the mandrels, or I can bend it by hand just the same. So with this, I'll have this, hold it in here for probably about 15-20 seconds, as you can see. And then I can separate this out. And then I got a nice little 90-degree bend.
Look at that.
One of the yeah, I know, look at that bend. Oh, this looks so good. One of the most popular bends is definitely going to be a 90-degree bend. You want to make sure that as you're using a mandrel kit, or just doing it at home on a flat piece of wood or your table, that you keep this as straight as possible. A lot of aspects of what people look at with the tube is not necessarily where my 90 is going to be as far as the height of this and how straight this is going to be here, but also looking at it from a three-dimensional aspect as far as, do I have it not just this way, but do I have it this way as well? So that way you can get a nice straight look if you're going to be building in a Core P5 or any other case for that matter, so that way your lines are nice and crisp and you're going to get a nice look and of course a great flow thanks to our insert that we have in here. So this is just cooling off a little bit. And then we have a nice little 90-degree bend that's here. And this is, it's pretty solid. The tubing itself is going to do its job. It's thanks to a lot of the design we put in with our PETG tubing. This right here is a thicker wall design than what I've seen personally. So it allows me to be able to do some adjustments. Because a lot of times when you do this bend, a lot of people will say, well, hey, if that bend went wrong the first time, then I'm just going to pull it out, throw it away, get another piece. So we wanted to make sure that we used a nice thick-walled tubing so that way we can give adjustments and, make some slight adjustments. You won't be able to correct a 90-degree bend this sharp, but if you're doing other 45s or other degree bends, you can do and make some simple adjustments to it. Like if I have a height issue where I'm a little off here, I can reheat this section and make a quick adjustment to it, and it should be no problem once it's recooled. So now that we have this here, let's do a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to do a different method. As you saw before, I had the heat gun faced up and I was holding the tubing over it. So now I'm going to do a longer area and I'm going to continue to heat probably about a 4 to 5 inch section of the tubing. This is going to allow me to be able to do a 180-degree bend in the tube. And it just takes a little bit longer time with something because I'm heating more of an area. And I want to make sure that that area itself gets proper coverage from one end to the other. And then with the time that it'll take, I'll start lifting the tubing up till I start to see it become pliable. And then once I have everything set, I'll be able to put it into my mandrel here and get my 180-degree bend. Now, a lot of this can be used for people that are doing bending techniques for going from your GPU to CPU, your CPU to radiator or pump. And a lot of people can say, hey, you know, I want to do just a straight 90 bend and just make it clean and perfect, right? Well, we want to try to think outside of the box a little bit and give people some options to be able to do some other things with it too. So it looks like I'm just about there, and you can tell because now I got a lot of play in a larger section of the tubing. So this will allow me to do bigger areas where I can hold and fold the tubing up and around. Now if I take this, let's move this just like this here.
So while you're bending that, I actually found the piece where we made a 90 and then tried to correct it.
Oh yeah.
Just to maybe see if I can give you guys a little bit of a better look.
So this was, yeah, that was
curled in on the edges, bubbling. It's just not going to look very good for your end build. This piece we would have to throw away or possibly cut. And just
and cut and use the rest of it and everything. It just kind of depends. And I mean, the same with when you're doing, doing degree bends, just the same. You can have different angles with this that will give you that nice loop shape with the bend here on the tubing, just the same. And fixing this so that way, once it's right before it's cool, you still have a little bit of adjustment that you can make. A lot of times with this, you'll have a wider opening that's going to become more of a V shape than a U shape. So squeezing it just a little bit so that way once it's finally cool, when it sets, it will come back and be a nice shape. And you want to make sure that you're heating enough of the area so that way you don't get like a knuckle on either end because you just didn't get enough proper heat coverage. So another thing to think about is just the distance of how much area I'm going to heat based on how big of a loop I'm going to do.
Yep. My first two bend, I had that giant knuckle right there where just the bend part, it looked like it had just stretched it all out. The wall diameter wasn't the same anymore. And just where it wasn't heated, it was still the same wall.
Yeah, and you can, I mean, and stuff can happen.
Apparent. Yeah,
stuff can happen. I mean, even for, I've done several builds and I still run into problems here and there. Sometimes it's with the tubing, sometimes it's just I applied too much heat and I wasn't paying exact attention to what I was doing. So then I can get something like this, and then I can take cutting tools to then cut and manage what I'm going to do with bends. Now I want to talk a little bit about cutting here before we get into a lot more of the bends. I just wanted to show you guys a couple simple bends. You guys let me know what you want to see. We'll try to see what we can do to figure out for everybody's request. Now, my tubing that I have, one of the most important things and aspects about this is how you cut it. Making sure that once you cut your tube, it's a nice flat straight piece. So when that tube is then mounted into the fitting, it's going to seat properly all the way into the fitting wall, and you're going to have a nice secure application with this tubing going flat into the fitting. So again, the most important thing is getting a nice straight flat cut. Now this is done very easily, thank you, with our Thermaltake PETG tubing cutter. I mean, it's a pretty standard cutter that you would see out in the market for other applications like cutting copper or doing brake lines, even like PVC stuff and everything. So it's kind of that same process, you know?
And that's part of the mandrel kit too, right?
Yeah, and this comes included, yeah, so and this comes with the bending kit, and we also got a deburrer that comes included in there as well. So as I'm tightening this, I'm gonna rotate this just the same. And I tighten and rotate, tighten and rotate. And as I just continue to go through the process, I'll eventually cut all the way through the tube, and it will give me a nice clean cut edge here where I've marked, or for example, where I would have marked on the tubing itself. So hey, we got a question. So Kobe Austin 1, can I use a fish bubble maker as a motor for a water-cooled system? I wouldn't recommend it. Stuff like that, you have to deal with looking at the connection as far as how that other type of pump is going to connect up, because all the PC pumps have a a fitting that's going to be applied. This is going to screw to like a G1/4 thread, which is pretty standard in the market for most radiators, reservoirs, and pumps and blocks. So a lot of that too is we use the D5 pump. The D5 pump has been an industry standard, and it has a lot more pressure that it will push than anything that you really see like within a fish tank. And a lot of it is designed and made for PC applications and to be able to run for a long, extensive period of time. I mean, D5 pumps can last you several years, even well beyond warranty, and still be able to use not just for your system today, but your system probably tomorrow just the same. As long as you take good care of it and you maintain your coolant system and just make sure everything's flowing properly. So great question, and thank you for that. So now that we've cut our tube and just kind of showed one technique, there are other options that you can get too. I got here just a standard tube cutter, so if I want to do something where it's quick, I can use something like this and just cut a nice clean piece off the edge here. Now one thing that's important, when I'm cutting the tubing, before I want to apply it into the fitting and doing my test fits and being able to start mocking up my tubing, I want to try to protect the inner O-rings that we have inside of our fitting. So all of our fittings, and he's got the sandpaper, all of our fittings are a triple O-ring design. So that means they have two inner O-rings that will then seat the tubing itself. And then out of being a compression fitting, you'll have a compression sleeve and a third O-ring here that will give you even more protection to secure the tubing to the fitting. Because the one thing, I guess probably one of the most things that can happen is leaks from where the fittings go, because the fittings is going to be the biggest quantity, all the connections. You really won't have any issues leaking from the tubing itself, but you'll definitely have some concerns if you don't get that seated flat up against the fitting, and definitely all the way in the fitting. Don't cut corners. If it's a little too short, redo the piece, or see if you can make some adjustments so it fits perfectly flat inside there. All right, we got another question.
Looks like they want to know if it's a Thermaltake case.
Is that case a Thermaltake case? I really like that. Hey, thanks so much. This is our new Core P5. So this is one of our open frame chassis, and we do offer this here at newegg.com. And this is one of our new open frame chassis that we have. And since you brought that up, I want to introduce my new little friend. So I have right here our new Core P3. So this is the little brother to our Core P5. And we're very excited to have this come out to the market here very recently. I believe it just came to market. And this is exclusively offered in the US here at newegg.com. So we're offering both the black version as well as the snow version, and you can find it here and buy it today at Newegg. So
really quick, why don't you, just while we have it out, why don't we go over like some of the different options? I mean, this isn't one of the only ways you can stand up this case.
Oh, hey, that's a great point. So talking more about the Core P5. Now the Core P5 does offer a very unique feature. The Core P5 and the Core P3 are wall mountable. So what this means is that this is the vertical layout that it has. This is one of 3 options that are available that has the feet on the bottom, so you can stand this up like a normal case. Now the Core P3 and P5 also have VESA mounts on the back. So with this, I can attach this to, just like if I'm mounting a big screen TV on the wall, it does that same VESA application, 200 by 200, 100 by 100, and 75 by 75. So you have different options here on the back to mount up, your wall mount, and then you'd be able to take this and put it right up on the wall.
Yeah, so basically, like if you're out of room on your desk, or you just don't want, maybe I see a lot of people where they put their PCs under the desk.
Yeah.
Instead of possibly doing that, just mount it on the wall next to the TV. Not only do you have your PC out of the way, it looks gorgeous.
Yeah, and I mean, it can be a real good showpiece for somebody that wants to have it up and out of the way. You got kids, a dog or something, you might not want this down on the floor, cat chewing on a cable kind of deal. So this can really give a great advantage and a cool look by having the wall mount option. Now that's option 2. We have a third way that you can mount it, which is like a tabletop. Once you take the feet off, there are rubber grommets that are available so that you can actually mount the PC like this as well, and then make it kind of like a desk. There's even a glass acrylic piece that goes over the front of this. So I've known a couple of people that have used this system and mounted it and then put like their monitor on top, or done vice versa, other options
Even
and stuff.
like a test bench.
Yeah, and exactly.
It's great for that. It's all open air.
You
don't have to move around stuff. It's awesome.
Test benches and a lot of other options with it being so open without the walls and everything, you can not only see and get everything to it, but it's real easy, like you said. If you want to switch out components and stuff. Let's see, we got another question here. Matthew Garcia, what kind of mount is that holding the video card?
That's a good one.
That's a great question, Matthew. So with our Core P3 and our Core P5, we have a dual GPU mounting layout. So what that means is that you can mount the graphics card traditionally, plug straight into the motherboard. And then we have an optional bracket like this expansion tray here. Just kind of turn this like that. This actually can come off and rotate and mount this way traditionally so that you have your slots going this way and then mount the graphics card in here. Or as you know, we've designed our Core P3 and our Core P5, we wanted to give you guys a full front face of the graphics card. You know, be able to bring out the looks, get that system up in front, get the graphics card with the lights and everything going. And especially if you're looking to do liquid cooling for the GPU, get a nice transparent water block, it makes just an ideal look for any system.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it allows you to be able to see the card a little bit better. You'll be able to see if your fans are spinning or moving. Because a lot of times when that card's sideways, you really can't see if your fans are spinning. So this does bring a little bit more of a, I guess, a safety thing or like a...
Yeah, well, I mean, that too. And I mean, a lot of us, we buy our video cards because we think they look gorgeous. And then sadly, you end up kind of putting it in the PC. You only see the side of
And
it.
yeah, all you see is just that top part.
And I mean, the manufacturers, they do such a good job on making sure those fans and just that whole system right there looks gorgeous. So might as well show it off, right?
And I do got to give big props to our friends over at Zotac for helping us out by giving us their new GTX 1080 card, as you see here. This thing is a beast. I mean, it fits perfectly into our Core P3. It's got full RGB lighting all the way around, 0 decibel rating fans. And I mean, the performance of the Pascal GPUs is just amazing. Everybody's eating it up. And yeah, I mean, they're hard to get. Yeah. This was not easy to get myself to be able to show you guys. So, I mean, the 1070s and the 1080s are great. Yeah. Graphic cards in the market right now, I mean, unbeatable performance. I'm a big NVIDIA fan personally myself. And yeah, the GPU looks great. And you can get this real simple and easy, mounted in here. And then the other thing too is that,
right here.
Oh, you got one?
Yep.
Cool. So then the cases will also come with a riser cable. Now, we know that we had some people that had some issues with the riser cable originally. And a lot of people have contacted me directly, and I've helped them out with you know, some troubleshooting. And we've seen a very low volume, actually, of issues with the P5. And then, of course, with the P3, I mean, being so new, we really haven't had too many concerns. But we've offered some alternative options for cables. So again, if you guys have had a problem, you own a Core P5, and you're having issues with your riser cable, please feel free to contact us at Newegg. Or you can contact us at Thermaltake in our office. I mean, we'll be glad to pass the word, see what we can do to help you out, and get some more information for you so that way we can send you a replacement cable if it may be defective. So as you can see, I have my GPU mounted here, my motherboard. I have VESA mount options in the back. I have options for up to a 360-degree radiator. The P5 will support up to a 480 millimeter radiator, so you can go a little bit bigger here. And it's definitely, both systems are capable for doing either AIO cooling or liquid cooling. Our new P3 is actually native for AIO cooling, because we know a lot of people saw the P5. We know a lot of people really like the P5 and the DIY aspect of it, but we did have some people ask us, hey, I want to put an AIO cooler on there. What can you guys do? What can we figure out for that? So we invented an AIO bracket for the P5 to allow people to shift over their radiator without the pump to be able to put an AIO cooler on the Core P5. And then with that, we also brought that to the little brother, the Core P3. So the Core P3 is native AIO supported, but it also has the option for doing DIY liquid cooling. So,
and actually, on that note, really quick, I know you can't see it right here, but right underneath this, what's down there? Right behind the radiator.
Oh,
filter. I remember you guys did something a little bit different with the over the P5. You guys put SSD trays.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
oh.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're not using the full spacing.
So if you're using and running like a 240 versus a 360, you'll have some additional spacing for SSD mounts. And we also have SSD mounts in the back. So you can fit 2 SSDs in the back here or 3.5s in the P3. And you got 3 hard drive options in here in the back, as well as the 1 dedicated here in the front with the bigger P5. So we got a question. Andre Stewart, so where is the power button? Good question. So the power button is right here on the front. You also have your USB 3.0 and 2.0, as well as your audio and reset button. This is kind of technically considered the front of the case in a way, but you know, as far as me and probably a lot of you guys at home, you might think that this might be the front of the case. But yeah, power button options are all right here, USB, and everything's right here as well. So yeah, do we want to show them the other one? Do we want to show them that?
Yeah, might as well.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
all right.
Okay, let's show them.
I did kind of sidetrack us, so.
No, that's okay. So I want to show you guys this. So we did a little bit of some sneak testing here and wanted to show people some different options as far as what was available. And I haven't shown this out in the market very much, well, actually at all.
Oh, yeah.
This hasn't been shown in the market. So earlier today, we did a soft tube build. This is our Core P3 Snow Edition. And with this, we did some hard tube, or soft tube builds. You know, I got our GTX 980 Ti graphics card in here with our new transparent block. We also have 1070 and 1080 blocks that just became available on Newegg like the other day. Where do we got that? We got that right here?
Yep. Oh, back plate.
So
That's not it, I'm getting there.
let's just open. So I really want to show you guys this. I'm really stoked. So this is our new backplate for our GTX 1070 and 1080. This is a 3mm thick aluminum backplate that's very solid, and it gives it a nice protection for the back of the PCB and a great look. And then of course, we have our GTX 1070 and 1080 Founders Edition water block. So this will fit both the 1070 and 1080 GTX models with the Founders Edition specifically. This is a transparent block that offers proper cooling for both GPU as well as your CPU and VRAG. So this is a full cover block, and it's now available at newegg.com. And the great part about it is that it comes with all the tools. There's a little bit of change as far as what NVIDIA did with how you disassemble and remove the old cooler to adding in the new cooler. So we added the tools, the fittings, the thermal paste, and the thermal pads. It's all included in there, so you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. And then as you guys may have noticed, that I kind of showed, and I really haven't said much about, we've been experimenting with a series of coolants that we want to offer to the market. And as you see here with my Core P3, you might look and say, hey, that coolant looks pretty dark. Well, this is some of our new experimental coolant that we're playing around with that we're hoping to bring to market here very soon with a solid black color coolant. This is not the official final design, but hey, we wanted to bring you guys something special. So we wanted to bring out the black coolant and show a little bit about what it looks like, because I know a lot of people will want that black look, and you know, they'll buy like what, like black tubing, you know, and try that.
Tubing, just go from there,
but you can't get that look in that reservoir. So we wanted to be able to bring, I was like, hey man, we need to have a black. So we came out and we're working on this, so we'll have this available very soon. And just to talk a little bit further, you know, some of our newer coolants that we have.
Do you want me to grab the lights?
I think I got these. So I have a guy that was here, and he's actually building a system right now. And he's like, hey, Thermal Mike, you know, I like this color that came in here, but you know, it might have not been the perfect one for my system. So he's like, dude, you got a green? And I said, of course I do, man, no problem. So we hooked him up with a bottle of the green coolant over there. So that's our new green coolant. And then of course we have our orange, our red, our blue, yellow. We got our hot pinkish purple color, and then of course our white. Now a lot of these can be mixed, and you can get some custom colors with it as well, or you can just take it. I mean, these colors are very vibrant, and the best part about it is with this coolant, it works with several different types of metals. And with this coolant as well, it's got a 2-year warranty, 2-year shelf life. Actually, I think it's a 3-year shelf life. I mean, this stuff lasts forever. It doesn't fade, and it's got a high fluidity to it, so it might look thick to you, you know, from home, but it's actually very liquidy, and it gives great flow, and it doesn't really clog or cause any issues, especially over a long period of time. We mostly usually recommend, oh yeah, he's got a little bit spinning around there. But most of this stuff will last, you know, good 12 months in your system without any issues. You shouldn't really need to flush your coolant for at least 12 months, and you'd probably even go a little bit longer than that, but that's what we recommend. So we got a question. Casey Ronkel, could you just run engine coolant for a car? Laugh out loud, just an idea.
You know what? I actually do hear that question a lot, though.
Yeah, I mean,
pretty
because
good often.
when you think about it, it's the same kind of concept as far as cooling your car. I mean, you have a radiator. It's just like the radiator that's in the front of your car. You got a case fan that's on here that's just like the fan in your car that's cooling that coolant. Running your system, your motor, your CPU, your GPU, you're running your motor. The coolant itself, this is specifically designed for PC applications, and we only recommend using this for PC applications because there is different properties within the coolant that will be different from other stuff. So definitely don't use car radiator coolant or anything that's not particularly designed for PC applications. So we have 7 different colors and more coming here. And again, this will all be available at newegg.com. So just to show you guys a little bit about this, we got some great stuff coming out. We did this build for the guys earlier, and we just wanted to show you our new Core P3. I really like the white edition. It really gives a nice look to it. And I think the build came out pretty good. Don't you agree?
Yeah. Honestly, I love this case. I'm a little jealous of the guy who won the raffle earlier.
Yeah, I know. And I
to
just
get one of
want to
these.
bring this up to you guys now. So you guys that are at home, us here at New England Thermaltake, we wanted to be able to give you guys at home an advantage too. Because we had some prizes here. I'll be honest, the guys that showed up, we gave them some great gifts today. I mean, man, they came up with a lot of
Yeah,
stuff.
it was like a P3 in black.
We had
this
P3s we
white
gave away, we
P3.
had P5s that we gave away. So we want to do the same thing for you guys at home. So what I'm going to offer here from Thermaltake is we're going to be able to give away 1 P3 to one of you guys at home. We're going to be doing it random here, so stay tuned and don't go anywhere. And on top of that, I'll offer you guys the option if you want either black or white. So that way you guys can choose what you want, and then I'll get your information, and we'll get you taken covered here. So stick around. You guys might win a Core P3, and we'll get going on to the next thing. So Core P3 from Thermaltake.
Gotta unplug it.
Huh? Oh, that's good.
I'll throw it over here on this table.
Yeah, throw it. Woo! Thanks, guys. Thanks. So yeah, hang on for that because we're going to be giving away some stuff. All right. Now we got that. Let's get our bending bar back over here. So you want a liquid cool. You don't know really what you want to buy. You don't know what you want to get, what you need. How many parts do you need? What parts do I got to get? And is it going to give me good performance? Well, Thermaltake has been thinking about lots of different options for everybody. We want to be able to offer the individual parts for the enthusiasts at home that like to nitpick and count and write down every little part piece that they want to buy and build, from the 90-degree fittings, compression fittings, radiator and stuff. And we also have some new build kits that we have available too that kind of takes all the thinking out of it. So we offer some DIY liquid cooling options in both 240 and 360 radiator spacing, so that way you can buy a full build kit like our good friend over here that's building his system right behind us. So with that, the kit will include a radiator, it'll include your pump, CPU block, fittings. It even comes with some extra additional little parts that you'll want to be able to get everything kind of covered out. You got the, I see here, he's got that box right here. Let's get that box over here. Oh, thanks so much, man. So he's actually building this right now. But as you can see, this is our 240 water cooling kit. It helps out to basically take a lot of the thinking out of what you'll need, including all the components from the fans to the coolant as far as what you'll all get in the box. And this is specifically designed for strictly CPU cooling directly. Now the great thing about DIY cooling is expansion options. So with this, I mean, you look at an AIO cooler, great performance, great price, but AIO coolers can definitely only cool just your CPU. GPU manufacturers have been starting to come out with AIO cooler options themselves, but I know a lot of people like the aspect look of like our Core P3 over there.
You just can't match that.
It's just hard.
Yeah,
It's hard to match that. So with cooling kits that we offer in different varieties of sizes and colors, we want to be able to offer these options for users that are looking to just get a little bit more out of their build and then be able to expand down the road. So say maybe you have an air-cooled GPU right now and you want to go water.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah, see, and that's me too. And if you want to do that, the kit's a great place to start. And then what this will allow you to do is to be able to expand to it. So I mean, adding a couple of fittings, some additional tubing, get that GPU and water block that you want, and you can throw it right into the loop. We do recommend though that you be cautious, with that radiator size, because you don't want to do 4-way SLI with a CPU with a 240 radiator, right?
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's a little bad. So
coolant line will just be hot.
just a little bit.
A little hot.
A little bit. So we want to make sure that we offer some different options, but make sure too, before you buy, that you plan to figure out what options are going to work best for you and your application, so you get great performance out of it just the same.
Yep.
So let's see, we got another question here. So, what is that? Omnis Pigeon. All right. Newegg does okay, this is for you. So, Newegg, does the cooler come with the BOFA edition already installed, or do I have to install it myself? What is he talking about?
BOF.
Bank of a, no, it's not, no, there's an F. There's an F in there. Newegg, does the cooler come? What? Oh, what? Cryptic message. I didn't know this was a game show. Door number 1? No. Oh.
Can I get a lifeline?
Final answer? No deal. No deal.
No deal.
Yeah, if maybe you could kind of rephrase the question, we'll be able to try to see what you can help out. A lot of like the coolers themselves, I mean, for like the CPU, of course, you have to install them. And you're talking GPU cooling, some GPU manufacturers have the water box pre-installed, which makes it even easier, because then all you really got to do is just pick up the fittings and get some tubing to add it in there.
But you don't get the fun of swapping it.
Yeah, you don't really get the fun of getting to take that GPU apart and see the actual GPU itself in all its glory naked, right?
Yeah.
And then be able to put the water block on there. So there is different options for you. I mean, if you get a pre-assembled water block, it makes it a lot easier, definitely safer on the warranty side with the GPU. And then you're just picking up a couple of fittings and tubing, you throw it right into your Thermaltake loop. So definitely thanks for the, the insight, because I mean, it does bring up a couple of different questions and options. Yep. So let's get into. You want to bend some tube?
Yeah, let's bend some tube.
Let's bend some tube.
I think that's where we were before I said.
Yeah, we kind of just got a little derailed. Okay, all right. So this is not for drinking. This is basically my lubricant, as you will, that I'm going to use for the tube work that we're going to be doing. So basically all I do is just put some soapy water in here. And, just kind of mix it up. So, you got a little bit of soapy water.
Any particular reason why it's soapy water?
So I personally like to use soapy water because it's easy to clean up. And it doesn't make a lot of a mess. I mean, I know there's some people out there that use different types of, materials and liquids and everything. Like some people use like olive oil and stuff. And man, hey, it smells good when you're bending tube and everything. It makes me kind of hungry a little bit.
I'd probably stop every few minutes just to go grab some food.
Yeah, or you're like, oh man, I'm just craving pasta all of a sudden or something. But, it's a little bit harder to clean out though. Yeah. A lot of that stuff is, a little bit more of a challenge to clean out. So soapy water's so inexpensive, so easy. I mean, it really doesn't matter. And you don't want to put, I guess you can't put too much soap. Well, you could put a lot of soap in there and be fine, maybe, but you don't have to do anything crazy.
Yeah, what I thought was pretty interesting is, after watching you heat it up and everything from there, it was still really easy to take out, whereas had there been none, I could see that tube actually sticking in here.
Yeah, exactly.
Expanding from the heat.
Now, most tube inserts that you'll have will go in, dry.
Easy, yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't have a problem being able to fit the insert in here. Like that one's just bone dry.
Yeah.
Goes in no problem, but it's still snug. It's perfectly designed for the tubing because that's what you want. So with this, before we heat it, let's just.
I can already tell with this once I heat it up, I'll have some problems getting it back out.
Yeah, because if you just start doing a couple of bends in it, more than like say 190, it's going to be pretty tough getting that guy, because it'll stick a little bit. So we'll just lubricate our insert here a little bit. As you can see, I'm just kind of making sure you apply it to the entire tubing, because you want this to be throughout the tubing that you're going to be using. And a lot of the reason for this is that, the water's going to keep everything, so this will be able to slide out very easily. Yep. And then the soap is there to help keep the water from evaporating as fast, because we, again, are heating it. So with this being heated, this will have, it's going to get hot.
Might get a little steam.
And a little steam and everything a little bit. But, we want to make sure that we'll be able to remove this and reuse it again, once we get some bends down.
You don't want to have to buy this, Benny. Why not, but...
And when that's a great idea. Yeah. So when you're looking at inserts, Thermaltake offers two different size inserts. We got, short inserts for our standard length tubing, and we also have long inserts for our long 1,000mm tubing. So if you're looking to do something with a large case, or you're just looking to have some extra room to do some really big bends, we have the tubing for you. And then we also have the inserts here for you as well. So you can buy this and cut it up into a couple of pieces. It's fairly inexpensive. Or, you can just get the standard straight piece like this, or pick up our bending kit. The bending kit comes with an insert as well, so it's all bundled in there together. So, hey, we got another question here. So, Mark Anthony Regala, can you do water loop on an HTPC size case around the size of a P4? I mean, I would say it's somewhat possible, but without a reservoir.
Inside the case?
Well, you could
would
go.
You be able to get that still inside
You
the
could do
case?
like a 120 radiator and mount that, a slimline one. You could get that flat in there. You could do just a pump, no reservoir tube or anything, but just the basic pump by itself and CPU block. And it'd be possible, but a lot of it is going to be fitment of the case. And that's another thing that I want to bring up. And thanks, Mark, for the question. When you guys are going to build liquid cooling systems, the one thing you got to look at is, the options. What's your case going to support? Because that's going to determine what you can put in there, right? So you'll see cases like our Core P5 that's, pretty straightforward. I mean, this can't be more straightforward that the radiator goes right here.
Simple.
But when you look at like a standard, full tower case, mid tower case, you have radiator options on the top, you get radiators on the front, you got that one in the back that you can do sometime on the bottom. So there's a lot of different options. And you want to look to see what that fitment's going to be. Can you fit a 240? Can you fit a 360? How thick can you fit it? Because radiators will come in different thicknesses too, not just size. Oh, yeah. So a lot of times if you're running a high capacity radiator, that thickness plus the fan on there, it could come up with some fitment options.
Good bit.
So a lot of that, can come down to the case and, what's going to fit, what's going to work for it. And we just want to make sure that, when you get that cooling system, that cooling system is going to fit for what you're going to, because the last thing you want is you get this all, you're halfway through installing it.
That's a giant bummer. Like, you're putting it together and it's like, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
And for half of us, it's like you're putting it together on the weekend. This isn't gonna work. I gotta wait.
And you just gotta stop right there.
Yeah, you
gotta stop right there.
I mean, you were planning on gaming, doing a bunch of benchmarks maybe, and that's kind of all out the window from there.
You probably spent a couple more bucks on upgrading a graphics card or doing something like that, or even a full build.
Yeah, pre-planning is huge when it comes to that. I mean, it'll save you a lot of headache.
So a good word of mouth would be make sure that what you're looking at is going to fit for what you want to put in there, and then for what type of performance that you want too, because you don't want to put like 240 radiator in there and run a couple graphic cards and a CPU. So if you're looking to do stuff like that, make sure that you got it all kind of planned out, or ask some questions. We have forums. Everybody's got forums that post up questions. A lot of people out there that have done this for many years, and you can get some real good easy information and make the right purchase the first time.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen info out there for like if you're overclocking the GPU or if you're overclocking the CPU.
Yeah.
And if you have multiple of those, like what's the best to go with? So
Exactly. So hey, we got another question. So Simon Rule, is the P3 or P5 efficient when it's on its side? Yeah. I mean, it's an open frame chassis. So any way, any shape, however you lay it, it really doesn't matter. The only thing that you want to keep in mind is that when you're laying it, horizontal, and it's laid down flat and you're using a reservoir like this, you just want to make sure that that water level is high enough, because that reservoir is going to be sideways like this, and you do have the fill port that's in here. So you want to make sure that that coolant level is going to be up to the top, because that hole's in the middle. So you don't want to this has got to be above that hole, because we don't want to have a dry pump, and we want to make sure we get good flow. So the only issue I would say laying it down flat is just making sure you have enough coolant filled in here before you lay it down.
Don't want to kill the pump.
Easy way to do that too is just to stand it up right and fill it up. And then
all the
let it
way,
run,
close it off.
kind of lay it down, get an idea for it, and then turn it back up, maybe fill it a little bit more.
Nice.
All right, got another we got a cute question here from Cute Cardigan at Newegg TV. My friend Mike is planning on investing on a new PC. Do you recommend these tubes for a very high-end system? Absolutely. PETG tubing has been one of the staples in LCS market for I think about 5 or 6 years now. I mean, this stuff came in and it was like a completely different change from what people were using with acrylic tubing. Where acrylic tubing is a lot more, I would say, brittle.
Yeah, brittle.
You don't really get
not
enough
as
play with it.
Or maybe more pliable with too much heat. Like it'll stretch a little bit.
Yeah, it can crack a lot too. I've heard a lot of people, and even moving stuff around, you can have some issues over time with acrylic. So when PETG came out with this new material, it was a lot more durable. I mean, this stuff can be heated and shaped to a lot of different varieties of options and shapes and keep its rigidness very easily. And a lot of this will not stress or crack. I can take this and I can squeeze this stuff. It won't shatter on me, and it pretty much keeps its shape.
Yeah, I feel like that comes back to that outer wall diameter that they have. That
Yeah.
4 millimeters. I mean, that's a really tough wall right there. That's great.
Yeah, I'm not really sure exactly what the millimeter is on that, but it's definitely a lot beefier than
might
what
be
I've
off.
seen.
Okay.
No, it's okay. It's okay. But yeah, PETG tubing has been a great thing, and it was I believe it was like a mistake. Somebody just kind of stumbled across
really?
it and found and said, "Hey, let's put this in there." And like, okay, it's what size? Let's get some fittings and let's try it. So. This has been
Works
growing in
great.
the market, and it gives a completely different look than what you'd see out of like an AIO system,
Yeah.
or even like a soft tube system like the Core P3 that we showed. So we'll have some more stuff that we'll show here in a little bit, but let's get back to our tubing here, and let's do some bends. So now that I've got my insert and I got my first piece here, let's look at doing our first run of our PETG tubing. So I've got my CPU block here, and I got my in and my out. So I'm going to go from the top fitting port here, and let's say we'll go to this fitting here. Now this is a 90-degree fitting. It's a rotary fitting. So the cool thing about this is when you put it in here, I can swivel it all the way around, and it's still locked in.
You have more options to what you can do. You're not stuck just trying to bend it into one side.
Yeah. Like if I want to do like a little 45 to come down and in, and be a little tricky, or if I want to do just a straight 90 dip, I can do that too. So let's take a look at what we're going to do. Now, when I build systems, there's a lot of different techniques that you can do that's going to make it as easy as possible for you, when you're doing this. Because that's what we want, right? As many ways that we can make it easier for ourselves, and then at the same time be able to get great results, right?
And I mean, if you don't have to go back and do it a ton of times because of that, that's great.
Yeah, because sometimes with this, it might be the first piece, it might be a lot more pieces down the road.
Yeah.
But when you're bending your, tubing, one of the things that I do is that if I do a 90-degree bend and maybe it didn't come out just right, but it's close, keep going. Don't stop there and then scrap it and start with a new piece. Keep that same 90 piece going. Get the whole thing all the way done. It might, even if you got like a wrinkle because you overheated it a little bit or something, it might not look the best. Use that piece as a test piece. Get that spacing. Find out where that's going to be bent at, and then you can take that piece to take another piece and make it even better. And usually it'll also help you with being able to know where each bend's going to be at just the same time. So let's just get going here. As I unplug.
Oh yeah.
Oops. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little 90 bend for the CPU, and I'm going to make it a little bit longer. Basically, so it sticks out a little bit further on the Core P5. And I'll show you guys the reason why I'm going to be doing this here in just a minute too.
Kind of simulate maybe as if it's your first time putting it together.
Yeah.
Try
and you're like,
bending for the first time.
Where do I start, right?
What do I do?
Yeah.
Yeah. I bent it too far. Where do I go from here?
Because you want to try to eliminate the issue of where do I need to bend and why. So I'll start with making the piece a little bit longer, and we're about good here.
I've noticed it starts kind of getting towards like that soft tube consistency when it's about ready almost.
Yeah. It almost it's a little hotter though.
A little hotter.
But I'll go ahead and I'll just put my piece right here in the 90, and we'll let it cool. It takes probably about 20 or 30 seconds for it to cool, about the same time it takes to heat up. So we got a question. Brian, okay, do corners make the pump work harder? Would it be more efficient to have less corners? When you're dealing with the D5 pump, and it might not be for all pumps that are out there in the market, but when you're dealing with a D5 pump, the one thing you want to look is what the performance of that pump's going to put out. Our D5 pumps here will push 1,135 liters per hour, which allows 15 feet of foot pressure. So that means I can take a 15-foot tube straight up, and that pump will push coolant all the way 15 feet up in the air. So with that, you have pretty much the best performance you can get out of the pumps today. And then these pumps also have speed adjustments too. So you don't have to go full bore 100% all the time.
I'm looking right here. I have 5 speeds. That's great.
Yeah, so we have 5 speed options that are available. And usually when you're dealing with something like a simple CPU cool, or if you're doing CPU and GPU, you're going to want to adjust your levels accordingly. You don't want to run it at like a full 5 all the time. Because what that does is that just creates extra pressure for your system. That can cause leaks, that can cause tubes to pop out. You don't want to go all out,
Yeah.
you know,
But I
unless
guess-
you need to, right?
Yeah, I guess just to gauge it or give it people an idea is, for instance, you would run it at maybe 4 if you had 2 cards you were running it through and then a CPU.
Yeah, usually
So somewhere
three
around
or
there,
4
3 or
should be
4,
pretty good. It
depending
doesn't
on the
have
radiators
to.
too.
It doesn't have to be rushing. You don't need to have the coolant just, you know, super flowing crazy. And back to Brian's question too, the insert is what keeps that inner diameter the same. So because of that insert, nothing changes with this. So if I have more bends or less bends, it really doesn't matter because the inner diameter is the same. It's going to be the same as far as how it pushes through. And I've done stuff where, you know, it's snakes and corkscrews and stuff. But I guess the one thing to mention on that is the length of the tubing. So if I'm going to do a bend here, and then I want to do a bend and a bend and a bend and a bend, and now I'm using the full length piece of tubing versus something shorter.
this guy.
Or if I'm using multiple pieces of this that I corkscrew, it's not necessarily about the bends per se, but the total length of what that tube's going to be, and not just the one piece, but all the pieces in the system. But thanks to the D5, you shouldn't have too many problems with it. A lot of the stuff that will come up will be more, I would say, a little bit harder pushing through GPU blocks and CPU blocks than actually pushing through the tubing. So the tubing, I really wouldn't worry about it at
It's
all.
because of all the little small crevices that it has to make it through. Like you were
Yeah,
saying
it's got to go
earlier.
through all those little micro fins and everything, so it cools all those GPU action and CPU action there. So a lot of that, you would see some resistance there, but as long as you got good flow, you should be fine. All right, so Go Away asks, are those D5 speeds software controlled? So the D5 aerial pumps that we have actually have the speed adjustment on the pump itself. So what you can do is before installing your pump into your system, you can adjust the speed accordingly on here, and then you're set and you're good to go. There are other options that we have as we've worked with a couple different people, and we do have some SwiftTech pumps as well that offer the variable speed options that can be PWM controlled. So we do have a couple of different options, but we do favor the D5 for the performance, and the adjustment on there is pretty simple and straightforward. Yeah. Okay, so we got our first 90-degree bend. Now we're going to take this and we're going to mock it up into our case. Now as you see, I've made this a longer piece. I'm going to be going into this fitting up here, and of course, there's a big space difference here, right
I would
here.
say about 2-3 inches at
Couple,
least.
yeah, a couple inches at least, right?
yeah.
But that way I give myself plenty of room to work with. And then what I can do as I'm doing the rest of my bends, this is going to help me out because I can sit here and cut little by little on this side to move it back until I get this lined up. And then that way I don't have to worry about where that spacing is because I'm doing it the smarter way by cutting this individually and just, little by little until I get it to fit just
So
right.
basically, it's a little bit better to leave more on that end where you're bending versus too little, because if there's more, you can cut some away. If there's too little, then you kind of just have to start over.
Yeah, for the most part. And you also have to think too is the total length of the tube. I mean, this is a pretty far little stretch for this type of a tube piece. So we're going to try to see what we can do to make this a little bit easier to be able to go right into our fitting over here. Because I might have done this a little bit long, but hey, we're live, so we're just going to go for broke. So let's take this here. Now I want to do so P5 users. Pro tip: take these pillars out, or just don't put them in yet until you have everything done, because you're going to have tubing moving around. If you're losing the longer pieces, the shorter pieces, this little guy, I mean specifically I guess this one, because the ones on the bottom really aren't,
Yeah, they're not
too much
too
of an
in the
issue.
way.
But I mean, most of the time people haven't gotten that far yet.
It's easier
Yeah,
regardless.
yeah. So now that I have this here, I'll just take this, and let's say we want to do like a little 45-degree angle. Now this is going to be tough for me because I'm trying to show you guys this at home. But I'm going to probably heat about right here so that I can kind of level this off so it's more straight, and then we'll go down into our fitting on the other side. So let's start about right here. This looks like a good spot, right?
Yep.
Yeah, why not? Now, one thing to think about is when you're heating tubing, when the first bend is easy because the tubing piece is straight. But now that I've got a 90-degree bend here, you can see I'm having to twirl this around.
Yeah.
Now, as you're heating the tubing, one thing to keep in mind is that you don't want to twist it. So when you're turning it, you don't want to, counter twist this, making sure that everything's spinning at the same time together, and just keep it moving. You don't got to go fast. You can go a pretty decent pace, but I mean, as you can see, I'm just And for this, I'm going to do something a little different. So I'm heating a little bit larger of an area. A lot of times when you're heating your areas, it's just going to kind of depend on what you want to do and how you want to go about it. So I'm just going to take this and just kind of test fit that in there like that. Take this and we'll see what we can do to bend this up like this here. But as you can see on this, with the tubing piece right here, I got a little bit too hot on the tubing piece. So I'm going to take this, and with that, I'm going to put it here in my 45 to kind of help smash it out a little bit, because I kind of got the angle that I want. And what I want to do too is always keep in mind that with with the tubing, you want to keep this straight. You got to think about this just the same too. Yeah. Not necessarily about how this is going to go or how this is going to bend, but making sure that you think about this, three-dimensionally, right?
Because otherwise you end up with some really awkward angles.
And you get some, weird little angles and stuff that can, occur and that can happen here. Look at something kind of like this. It's going to sit here, and this will go into my system like that. And then we'll try to bend it down. I don't know if I like this already or not. I mean, it's kind of tough doing it this way. I just don't know if I'm going to have the proper length to go down. Well, let's try it again.
All right.
So let's get it there. I got another piece right here.
You have more?
Yeah. So sometimes when you're looking at this stuff and you're doing it, you can have some different angles with it. And I mean, the tubing itself is actually quite it's not really that pricey.
No, not at all. I mean,
I think it's like $15 for four pieces.
For the 4-pack. This guy got.
I think a lot of it was I went a little too long on the first 90. Or I guess I could have used the longer pieces too, but we'll just speed this up and just do this real quick here, because I just didn't like it. Granted, it is a lot harder doing this from the backside of the PC.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we're doing these builds for systems at home, and for some people, or we're building this for our next event that we're going to be at.
And you could just be covering the whole PC.
And yeah, the whole thing is I can be just right there front and center on what I got going on. And speaking of events, just to kind of let you guys know, Thermaltake will be out at QuakeCon here in Texas next weekend. And we got some great systems that are going out there. We actually just finished doing some builds on some systems that we got that are going to be going out there. So, stay tuned for that. And, see a lot of our media coverage that we'll have there, at QuakeCon. Great event. So I just kind of get my 90 in here. Let's see, how well did I do? What did I do on the last one?
Oh, no, that wasn't.
Oh, that wasn't it? Oh, okay.
That
we already
was the
threw it away?
weird
Oh, okay, let's see. Did I do a little bit shorter? I did a little bit shorter.
Nice.
All right, that's cool. So, this is going to be hot, so just be careful.
Yeah, this one's still a little
I
warm.
was just going to ask how much a box of that tubing. Oh, yeah, no problem. Yeah, this stuff, I mean, you get 4 pieces, and it's like $15. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times when you look at this system, I'm going to need 1 piece here, I'm going to need 1 piece here, and 1 piece here. So that's 3 pieces. So if you're a pro, you got 1 mistake, 1 box, but
I still buy 2 boxes.
I buy at least 2 boxes for that. So that way you got some headroom. You can use 1 piece to kind of play around with a little bit, and then you can use that other piece. So let's go ahead and. Something about right here. Now you can get longer pieces of tube and do some really crazy stuff. I mean, if you want to do some corkscrew stuff or some snake kind of stuff,
have to go find that
I wonder where that one piece went.
I'm gonna go on a quick search, see if I can find it.
Okay. It might be here somewhere.
Corkscrew.
You got it? Did you find it?
No, not yet.
Oh, it was
Found
pretty,
this guy.
pretty big piece. I wonder where. That's whatever.
But
But yeah, no. I mean, stuff like this is interesting to do. I mean, a lot of times I'll do something like this where it's going to be like GPU to CPU just to break it up a little bit different. you know, put some roller coaster loops in there and stuff like this, where it's, you know, it's going to plug in here and just kind of, you know, give me a different look. And I mean, you know, this stuff is so pliable. You can do so many cool things with it.
Reminds me of a little roller coaster
Totally.
loop.
So, I totally bent this wrong.
Oh.
But that's okay.
Hey, it's like you said, you know, sometimes it works the first time and it's just amazing, you know, perfectly.
Oh, I know.
And then other times you may end up going through quite a few pieces.
And that's the great thing about this stuff is that when you do like a bend, a lot of times I can basically just heat the area again and get it almost back to like a perfectly straight piece. And I can get this just like that right there. Let's take this in here. Let's see what we got bend wise. We can do something kind of like that. And then we'll just take this. Now, when you're doing these bends, always keep a flat surface around. I mean, you know, I don't know if you want to use mom's kitchen table, but you know, get a piece of wood, you know, make a block of your own. You know, kind of what you want to do, because I can make my own little patterns as far as what I want to make out of it, so that I can have something like this that's going to go in here. And then just keeping the focus not necessarily on where I want to go, because I could bend it more, I could bend it less. It's really up to me.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
yeah, it's like you said, with the whole thinking 3 dimensions, you know, you're not only thinking about the bend, but you don't want this side right here rising up and getting in closer towards the case.
yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, same with, you know, not just the up and down, but the left and right.
Yep.
Yeah, and then always making sure that your, you know, your stem that's going to be going into your component is straight. That's always definitely important too. So we'll just let this cool off here a little bit before we go to our next little part. And then we have this here. And now you guys see that this is, you know, definitely sticking out a lot further. So what we'll do is let's start trimming it up, get a little bit closer before we do our final bend. So I'm just letting this cool off. I just want to make sure it cooled completely.
And I think you have a question, Mike.
Okay. Do you play Pokemon Go Thermal Mike? No, I don't. Unfortunately, I don't play Pokemon Go. Should I? I bet that's going to generate a lot of questions.
You're going to see a lot of yeses.
And then we got this. Okay, we just let this cool. Now, so with this, I want to do some cutting, but if, you know, we got our insert in here. So let's go ahead and let's just pull our insert out. Now, we didn't finish everything, and that's fine, because we can always put the insert back in here, and we can start, because now that we've gotten this section kind of situated, you know, we're really only going to be heating this area, so all I really got to do is just put the insert back in on this side over here. So first, let's try to get this a little bit closer, so that way we'll be able to line this up just right. So I'm going to just cut a little bit off the end here. So let's just use our little cutter tool. Chop.
And I believe we actually just got back to where I sidetracked you from.
Oh,
Saving
no.
the O-rings.
Yeah. So
Saving the O-rings.
every time that you cut, this edge is going to be sharp. Sometimes if you use a saw or different material, it's going to have an edge. So we have a deburring tool that you can use to kind of smooth out the edges for both the inside and the outside.
Also included in the kit.
Also included in the bending kit. And then, you know, again, because it's simple and easy, a 500 grit sandpaper piece, you know, it's wet dry, so that way, you know, it kind of works both ways, but, you know, I usually just use it as is. And just to kind of go over it just a little bit more, just to kind of sand the edge. And a lot of this is just for saving your fittings. So that way when I'm going to test fit this over and over and over and over again, I'm pushing this in here, and I got 2 internal O-rings that I don't want to chop all up. Because the last thing I want to do is do all this work, put this in, and guess what? I got a leak because this edge cut right into it. And again, that also involves too, like, you know, you have to put some pressure to push this stuff in, because it's a tight fit, but you don't want to go too crazy.
Yeah, and what's nice about that is it gives it that nice rounded off edge, so
far
far less likely to happen.
So we can sit here and we can test fit this in here, and we can kind of get, you know, an idea of the angle that we want to go at. God, I can't even really see what's going on with this. But to be able to get something like that there, and then doing a bend here. Okay. So let's get a little, so we just take a little shorty piece that we have.
looks like they want to know if you
Did you
actually
build
put this
your
together
jig board,
yourself,
or is this a
or
Thermaltake?
is this
Oh,
something
oh.
that you buy?
So I went to Home Depot. I bought a piece of wood. Oh, bye-bye. I bought a piece of wood, and I bought our mandrel kit. I have our mandrel
Yep.
kit here, and just a couple of wood screws. I kind of marked out where I wanted it, so I had some space between, so that way when I'm doing my bends, it's not going to hit the other, the other mandrels just the same. And a couple of bucks, piece of wood. I cut it up, sanded it a little bit, and gave me this nice little look. Oh, thank you so much, sir.
Oh, saved by a random hand.
Oh, I love random hand. All right, so now we got this kind of fitted up over on this side. Let me see, where's my...
Oh, let me move this cable over a little bit.
Oh, no problem.
Just
Oh, here,
you don't have any issues.
grab that out of the way. Thanks.
Don't want heat gun to go flying.
No, we don't want that. Then we have this. We'll test fit this back up in here, and I'm going to try my best to do this from this angle. So as I'm looking at this, I need to make a 90-degree bend to go into the fitting. Or I can do a 45-degree bend and go into the fitting, just the same here too. So let's look at what it's going to take to do that. So I'll take my insert, I'll kind of sneak it in, so I just got a little bit hanging out so I can kind of get a placement for where this is going to be. I'll take my tube in and kind of just set this right here, and then just making sure that my angle is going to be good. And then here's a quick trick for people at home. Give me a little straight piece. So, where's my sandpaper? So yeah, about those extra tube pieces. So a lot of times with the tubing, you can make your own little tools that can help guide you. Take a little piece. Maybe you cut a piece off the other piece and everything you got laying around. Don't throw it in the trash. You can use it. So I can take this piece and I can fit this in here into my fitting that I know that's where this is going to go. So now that I kind of have this set up, I can get an angle, I can get an idea of where I'm going to go. So as long as I'm looking at this kind of, as where is I'm straight, how the fitting is, and then how this is, if I have it here, I have it here, I can then get an idea on where I'm going to bend and where I'm going to go with it. So then this will give me an idea that I want to be probably about right here. Huh? Oh, okay. Thank you. And then for this, we're going to do a little 45 into here, so we'll just heat a little bit bigger of an area. Because usually with a 45, it's more of a bend that covers across, and you don't want to heat up too much, but you don't want to heat up too less either.
Yeah, because if you get too little, then you end up with that knuckle.
You get that little knuckle or the pinch. Well, depending on the bends and stuff that you do, but yeah, you can run into a couple of things. So we're just going to kind of play around with this a little bit. And we can also make some adjustments too, once we have it kind of, form fitted into the system. So let's just go like this. Fit this into here. We'll take this, and we'll kind of just sneak it into here. And then we can kind of get an idea on where we're going to go. I can even also take this and see how I just snuck it right outside in front of the fitting, because I'm not worried about the spacing this way. I'm going to cut this more to bring it in. All I'm worried about is where I'm at here and where I'm at here. So I line this up as best I can to the outer part of the fitting, and then not only thinking about what this is going to be, but also thinking about this way too, because I want to try to keep this straight, just the same. So as I kind of keep this here, and then if you want to do some bending with this or put this in a mandrel, you can do that too. It's up to you. That's the great thing about this stuff, is that you have lots of options, and you want to try to keep this as straight as you can. So I think we got most of the angle that we want there. And we'll just let this guy cool off a little bit.
So we have another question, Mike. Looks
Oh,
like
we do.
Might have covered this a little bit earlier, but
Can you
I don't mind going back
reheat
over it again.
Previous angle, okay, sorry. I'm not even reading it out loud. Why would I do that? All right, so Cotive Station. TT Mike, can you reheat a previous angle to reshape, or is the integrity too compromised? Great question. So
I have the previous one right here.
you do? Okay. So when you're talking about heating and you're talking about the tubing, if you're going to do a straight 90 like this, you can't reheat it and go that way. It's just too extreme.
Yeah.
Too extreme. But if you're dealing with stuff where like you have like a 45 angle, or you're doing something even more like loops like this, where it's not like a sharp turn per se. A lot of this stuff can just be reheated and then reshaped. And you can even do small sections of it. Like say I got this part perfect here, but then this part wasn't just right, or maybe this wasn't just enough on that. I can reheat the second section and just kind of make a small adjustment. And then I can make a small adjustment, to, other places as well. But there is some limitation.
Yeah.
There definitely is some limitation to it, but overall, I think it's pretty easy to do. So.
Yeah, so like on that reverse 90, this one got a bit of bubbling.
Well, yeah, because we showed people
things
what it
like
would
that.
look
Yeah.
like, so that way, like if you see, and then, just to kind of take a close-up look at this. So a lot of that where you'll see like that wrinkle or that bubble that's in here on the fitting, this is from overheating it too much. And this is also, of course, from overextending it from one way to the other. So we wanted to demonstrate this to kind of show people what that looks like. What you're going to get out of the fitting and what that bend is going to be. Because, this stuff, this ruins your day right here.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
this looks like the integrity of the wall is just gone at that point.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
I wouldn't trust that.
When it starts to bubble like that, it can definitely cause some problems, and it's a learning lesson.
Yeah.
You kind of go through the process of learning what everything's going to be, and then we're going to just do a quick little test fit, just to kind of see what we've got going on. We have a little bend like this here. Then as we look at it, I mean, it probably could have, we could probably fix this and rebend this section here to make it a little bit straighter. Or we can just, as far as the way the adjustment goes, from tubing to tubing, there's a lot of different angles that you can do to just, get a different type of look out of it, right? You can do different things with it. I mean, I could do straight up, straight over, straight down. I can do little 45s like that. Just something to give you guys at home like an idea, of what you can come up with.
Basically, if that was, for instance, like our final bend, that's when we would move on to the little collars right here.
Yeah. So, once you'd be done, and you kind of get your tube work done, then you'll have your sleeve and your O-ring, and then this will basically apply the sleeve first, then the O-ring after, and then with the tubing, you'd apply the fitting or the tube into the fitting, making sure you get it seated all the way down. I mean, I had to put some little bit of
good amount of force. Yeah.
little pressure into that, but you want to make sure it's snug and tight because you don't want to, because you can see, the cool thing about this stuff is you can see that that's right down in on there.
Yeah.
And then just make sure double check everything before you go and, screw this stuff down. So as I sit here and I twist this.
Once it's locked in, I mean, it's not very easy to pull out.
No.
It's pretty tough.
Even for being a smooth tube like this, it definitely would be hard to remove this now that it's secured in here with the fitting. So usually this will be something that you'll do last. Okay, we got a question. Mr. Quince 125, question, is the inner diameter important? My Thermaltake Water 3.0 Ultimate Tube looks very thin now, but still does a good job. Well, fitting went flying, 3D action.
We have extra ones. Hopefully.
AIO coolers are definitely a staple in the market. An AIO cooler, a closed loop cooler, and everything, does provide you maintenance-free options.
Yeah. And it's very easy to install.
And very easy to install.
Yeah, super easy.
But with an AIO cooler, those little tubes are a lot smaller. But then you also have to understand that those are designed to cool CPUs specifically. So a lot of that, and even with other tubings that's available in the market, you'll have different tube that's available in different sizes. But we do offer these in a 1/2 inch inner diameter because we want to go big and be able to have good water flow through it too. Yeah. It's not going to be bad. It's not going to be really, I mean, it's
so
better,
a little
but
bit more like aesthetics wise.
It
looks nicer having the large beefy tubing with the coolant running through it.
Exactly. So now that we have our little piece that we've made here. So let's do a short little piece from the radiator that's going to go into the reservoir, and we'll show a cool little trick that we can do with that. Let me find my little shorty piece.
Not this guy, right?
Let me see. This one looks pretty good. Let me see. So what I want to do is I want to bend this piece into here. And when you're looking at this, you're like, dude, how am I going to do a 90 to a 90 so close, right, with trying to get it in there? So we want to go.
I've been wondering.
Yeah.
So I looked at that. I was like, what?
so we have stuff like this that can be fit in here, and then we want to make a nice, cool little bend. Maybe we want to do something a little different, right? Let's go out of the box.
Okay, yeah.
So let's go out of the box. So we're going to take our tubing, and we want to kind of bend and mold it. Maybe put a cool little loop shape or something into it here. So let's get a good idea of how long we plan to go with this. So I got this here going up. It's about, I see I want to chop it about right there. So let's cut a little bit more off of this. Just like that.
And then now going back to just like earlier, I mean, if you cut off too little of this and it was too tall, that's always better because you can just take some off of the straight piece and lower it from there.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Versus,
versus cutting it too short, so always give yourself a little bit of extra.
Yeah. So what I like to do now when you're doing this it's the same kind of concept. Actually, you know what? Let me get a fresh piece.
I think those are empty.
Because I want to show them something interesting here. So with this, let's go a little bit longer. I want to show an easy way to do this. So of course I'm sanding my ends. I mean, this isn't necessarily going to be perfect, but it's just a good habit to start having, guys. Yeah. I mean, saving those O-rings is going to save you big money, so you don't damage your fittings, and it's just good overall way to go. I mean, it doesn't take long, you know.
A few seconds of sanding is better than risking a leak.
Always, and spending more money too.
Oh yeah.
So let's see. Yeah, this one will work good. Okay, so we're going to have this one, so it's kind of the insert's bottomed out here, and then it's kind of hanging out the top. Yep. Reason for this is we're going to test fit this into this part here, and then as we heat this area, we're going to bend it so it sits right on top of the fitting instead of into the fitting itself. We're going to sit it right on top. And the reason why is because once we get our cool little bend and we get it mounted here right on top of the fitting, all you got to do is chop the bottom and just, nice. And it's perfect. You don't have to worry about measuring. You don't have to worry about getting that right angle. You can use the cutting to your advantage to just get everything set up. So let's first think about where we want to start to bend. So I'm going to say I want to start bending about, let's go about right here.
All right, and earlier it looked like we had a question from Andre Stewart. He wanted to know where we get the heat guns. So,
okay, so a little bit. I mean, we're not really sponsored per se by any hardware company, but I do want to mention this. Heat guns are inexpensive. They're also expensive just the same. You can spend big money on a heat gun, and it can burn out just as much as you could spend a couple of bucks on a heat gun. Yep. So I would say, like something like this is just a real standard heat gun. I think I paid like $10 for it. And I mean, you can see some other ones out there, 60, 70 bucks.
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
And I mean, if you find the sale for like a heat gun, pick up a couple of them. So that way, if one blows out, you'll have an extra one for a backup thing. So that's a great question. So we got another one here, Andre Stewart. That was it. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, thanks, Andre, for the question. All right, so. Now for this, before I get into it, we're gonna do a little bit more of a technique. So I got some just like heat gloves.
Okay.
So this is to just kind of protect me from burning myself.
Save those
you want
to in the fingers.
You need the fingertips. We don't want to be Men in Black or anything. And this is not a Michael Jackson thing either.
Burn off the fingerprints and all that good stuff.
But yeah, I already forgot where I'm going to bend at, so we'll just kind of hold it back. Yeah, I was right there. So for this, I'm going to be heating a larger area. And then with that, I'm going to just kind of, a lot of times you can get tape. Buy some tape and be able to heat up where the tape starts and ends. And then the other thing that's really important too is when you're heating large areas like this, don't get the tip end where it's going to go into the fitting hot, because that can get misshapen and warp, and then it won't go into the it's not going to go into that fitting
earlier, right. You can actually impress your fingerprints or the pattern of the glove into that. And
yeah,
that might be cool, but I don't think that's what most people are going for.
I mean, the glove will definitely save your hand from burning
yeah,
yourself,
definitely.
big time, because this gets hot, guys. This is not like a hair dryer. This is a heat gun, and I'm putting this on a good 20 seconds. I mean, most stickers would melt off by now when you think about it.
Normally, after you shut this off, I can still see the heat rising.
Yeah. You kind of, you get a little vibe from
Sitting there,
from it
just,
there.
oh, it's nice. It's warm.
But what we want to do is we want to do something a little bit different, a little out of the box. I think we're just about good. Here, let's see. All right. Okay, so now that we got this in here, I got to do this real quick because it's going to cool. But I'm going to take this and just do something a little bit more off the wall, where I'm going to take this and kind of do, instead of trying to do those 90s and measure it out, let's make a cool little loop thing like this as my shirt gets caught. No, it's all good.
All right.
But we just want to make sure that we're keeping this part here straight and we're keeping this part here straight. So if I'm going a little bit over, that's no problem. I can then just cut this, chop, chop, chop. And then as this is top up here, I can cut this here and then it'll just step right on down and go right into my fitting, no problem. I don't got to worry about where A to B's got to measure. I don't got to worry about what I'm going to do. I can just use these fittings as my guide. And I can just kind of eyeball this as it's cooling. So when the piece is going in here, you know, as it starts to kind of get towards the end of that cooling phase, it's going to start stiffening up. And you just want to make sure you're holding it where you want to keep it. Because, you know, we want nice straight lines, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I think I'm pretty much good here. And I'm just going to kind of hold it here because when you have a larger section that's being heated, of course, it's going to take longer to cool it off.
PC's bleeding.
Oh, it is? Uh-oh.
Just joking.
I just want to make sure I got a nice straight setup. And then see, this is kind of cool too, because now I'm not dealing with like a really sharp 90 or something really intricate like somebody else brought up with, you know, having real sharp bends. Is that going to cause me flow issues? And this kind of gives, you get that nice soft little soft tail type of bend
Would you
to
even
it.
say that if you mess this one up, it's not as sharp of a bend to where you could possibly fix it again?
I could basically take
You
this.
can straighten it back out.
I could heat this up to almost a straight piece again and start all over.
That's great.
Because it's not necessarily, I'm not going extreme on the bends. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see, we got that. We'll just kind of let that sit there and cool for just a second because it is a little bit more of a thing. So we got a question here. So Kenneth Winkleman, can we get a quick look at the cutting tool that was just used?
So we just put up all three?
Okay, so let's go, yeah, here, let me go over these again. So we have, where's my bending kit at?
Right here.
We got it right there? All right, cool. Do we have the box too, just to kind of give them an idea what the
Yes,
boxes are in there
sir.
somewhere, right? Oh, there it is.
I got it.
Thank you, sir. So here's our hard tube bending kit. Our hard tube bending kit is going to come with a variety of tools. So that way you got a little deburr action. So you'll get your 3 mandrels in here. You'll get an insert. You'll get your deburrer tool. And then, of course, you'll get your cutting tool. Now, I'm going to say this is a great
love this
tool to
thing.
use. Anthony here's a big fan of it. I mean, he's a real, I mean, the bearing on it's
bearing.
very smooth action for it. I mean, this is high quality stuff. We didn't cheap out on this at all. And with this, I can sit here and I can cut the tube with this. I can also use something like this Milwaukee tube that, you know, this cuts like PVC pipe and everything.
Yep.
You know, it's a little bit more expensive. It's going to give me a quicker, easier type of cut. And, you know, this blade, I've cut hundreds of pieces with this. And it's still as sharp. It feels still as sharp as what I have. Now, other things that you can use too is, you know, just a household saw. I mean, this is a miter box with a, you know, miter saw. Nothing too crazy, very inexpensive.
Yep.
And it can give you different types of cuts and help out with just, you know, as far as what you want to do. And here's the reason why. If I'm using a cutting tool like this is going to work for, I'd say, 75, 80% of what I'm going to cut. But if I have something that has like a loop in it, like this, and I want to cut here, you know, this is going to hit, and I won't be able to cut, you know, that whole piece. So sometimes I need to have different tools, and that is going outside the box too. Because
even going back to what you were talking about for this guy right here. I mean, certain cutting tools won't do certain sizes.
yeah.
Like with the saw, you were able to cut off like a wafer.
Oh yeah. Oh, you know what?
That was pretty impressive.
That's a great point. So when you have a cutting tool like this is great for doing a lot of just your basic, your basic cutting and chopping. Something like this where kind of cutting off a little bit, but I'm not totally accurate
Around
on it.
like inch segments. Or
But when you get down to that last little part, when you're finishing that part, and you got to cut something really small, that's where stuff like this. I know. Stand up.
Don't get
me. I can't really. It pinches it, and it doesn't really give me a nice straight or even cut.
Yeah, it's all fat on this side.
Yeah,
and super thin on this side.
I mean, I know I did it a little sloppy and all, but I mean, still, it's very, very hard to do that. So my miter saw comes in handy for a lot of other things, and especially some fine tuning. So if I want to cut something. So if I had just, almost a perfect bend and I needed to go just a little bit, I can use a saw and I can cut something as thin as this. I mean, super thin, less than 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch type of stuff. A saw with this is going to be able to allow me to cut just little sections. Because sometimes it's just a little bit you got to do versus a lot. Stay with me there, P5. And, I can cut just little sections like this. Because your dad told you, just like my dad told me, you can always cut more off, but you can't add any back. Yep. So it's always best to try to figure out how I got a little bit extra and what I can do to fix this. So this is cool now. Let's pull this out. Put our saw back down here. Now that we got our fitting here, so what's important is making sure as we're doing our final measurement cuts that we're going to put this all the way down into the fitting so we know that it's all the way in there. And then we kind of have this set up. Now you can do one of two things. Usually I'll take just a standard little Sharpie marker. And on the fitting, you can actually use the fitting as a guideline. This little lip edge that's right here is pretty much the inner wall or the backspace of where that fitting is going to go. So as I look at this and how I have it set, I'll just make a quick little mark about right here, which is going to be right where that's at. And then I know that once I have this set for where this is going to go, I just need to cut this bottom off and then bring it down, down, down until I get it. I mean, I could get it in the first cut. I could get it in the fifth cut. It just kind of depends on what you're going to do. So we can cut this off right here. We can reface this and go, okay, look, we're looking pretty good. All right. Now let's just cut a little bit off the bottom. That didn't really go too far, huh? Let's get a little bit more precise. I also want to get a nice straight cut for this bottom piece too. Sometimes with those cutters, it's close.
Slanted sometimes.
You can get it, but this is like perfect every time. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just kind of the way I guess grew up doing this or how I started doing this. So, I mean, everybody's different. Everybody's going to have their own way that they're going to cut. And my sandpaper. I got a lot of pieces of sandpaper. That one's pretty. I think I used that one up too much.
Yeah, that might have been from earlier.
That might have been an earlier piece.
Yeah, the table earlier is covered with little flakes from the PETG.
It gets a little messy, so yeah, you might not want to do this in your living room. That's a good point. This might not be a living room project, but maybe a garage project or something in the backyard. So let's see how we did. 30 minutes left? Okay. Now that we got that fit in there, let's see how we did. And we'll just kind of come over here and just kind of eyeball it. We want to try to keep this as straight as we can. We want to kind of, just get that nice curve just going right into the fitting. Looks really cool. It's something custom, one-off that you can do at home, and it gives you just like a, a nice little look to it. Oh, we're
just leaking a little.
Yeah, just a little bit. Thanks, man. So that's another technique for what you can do with like a short piece, where if you're going to be doing bigger pieces and so on, we'll okay. Let's see where this go. Here. 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 Look at what we got going on bend-wise. I mean, I know it's not perfect. I'd probably do it again, but you know, we're live, so we're just trying to give you guys an idea. So please don't criticize me on this. I got a lot of examples of what I've done. But yeah, so we got this in here, and shoot, let's see. Save some time. I got this piece, I kind of pre-bent and everything because we are running close on time, so I want to put this in because I want to show you guys a little bit more with this. So this was just kind of an older piece that I had. I had this kind of test fit here. It's a little, still a little wet and everything, sorry about that. But let's go ahead and let's mock up our fittings. So, oh yeah, I forgot to kind of move some stuff. So always make sure you get your little collection, like I do here. Like, you know, this is going to be my sleeve and my O-rings. And before you mount this permanently, and it's going to be installed, and you're going to run coolant through it. You were cutting on this, right? Little pieces are going to be in here, and you don't want to get that in your pump. You don't want to get that in your system or anything else because
we had soap and water in there.
It'll get everything, and there's soap and water in there. So a lot of times, what I'll do with this is I will, take this and just go rinse it out. Regular water to rinse it out is usually no problem. For the sake of the show, I'm not going to do that, and we're just going to try to do the best we can. I think a lot of it's out of there. And if I have some problems, it's okay. I can fix it later. So we'll take our sleeves and our O-ring, just like I showed a little bit earlier. And then we'll place our tube. Make sure it's seated all the way down in there. Now, I like to get the thread started, because sometimes you just have to get it. Sorry. So as long as I get the thread started so it's on there, but I'm not going to screw it on all the way. And another thing too is that if the tubing the way it is, sometimes if this is really tight, don't crank on it because all you're going to do is cut circles around that edge of the tubing. It's probably not spaced properly or not set up right. So just a little bit of adjustment will make it so that the tube doesn't look like it got beat up in the process of being installed.
Looks like we have another question.
Oh, what's going on?
They're wondering if the tubes come in longer than 1,000 millimeter. To my understanding, I believe 1,000 millimeters. Is the
Well,
longest.
for what we offer, 1,000 millimeters is the longest.
Okay.
But you can definitely find longer out there.
Oh, okay.
There's some companies that sell like 6-foot pieces of the stuff.
Oh, really?
And you can get the same type of, 16 millimeter outer diameter and inner diameter that will match our tubing. A lot of it's available online. You just got to, deal with the shipping costs and everything. But I mean, you can get a 6-foot piece if you really want to go wild or you want to, do some
Water cool from room to room.
You want to join that radiator that's on the other side of the room there while you're doing this. Now, again, I'm just kind of going through the fittings. Oh, you're the best, Anthony.
There you go.
Kind of got that fit on there. And then getting this down in here. Okay, and then basically a lot of this is just kind of tighten up the last little bits. We got this last guy right here to do. Everything fit, and then we're going. That one's in there.
What color would you prefer?
I don't know. What, hey, let's ask the people at home.
Good question.
Well, ask him.
What color do you guys want? Coolant?
I mean, I kind of want. Maybe I do want to kind of stick with red because red
should.
Yeah, because we did put red in the system earlier.
Okay, sorry guys.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
All right.
Because I do want to kind of show them like the process with that too. Okay, so we're just tightening down all of our fittings, just making sure everything's snug. I mean, this is a demo system, so we're going to rush a little bit on it, but it should be fine. Now we got our red coolant right here, and we got our fill bottle.
Grab some couple paper towels just
here,
so
let's
don't
get
stain your board.
Let's get the board out of the way here. All right. Paper towels are definitely a water cooler's best friend.
Yeah.
And then bartender Anthony here will where the other bottles are. So these bottles that we have, we actually don't necessarily sell these individually, but they're pretty popular out in the market. You can find stuff like this, different ways to fill it. People use funnels. They'll make a tube fitting that will go to a funnel, syringes. I mean, I've seen a lot of people do stuff. I personally like this because we sell this with our coolant that we offer, and I have a couple of these in the office, so I actually do use this a lot.
Makes life super easy.
It makes stuff super easy. There's actually a tip that's on here, and it makes it really fine. And a lot of people don't realize that that separates and comes off. So that comes off and you get...
I've actually never used that on there.
Oh, okay, okay. So now that we have everything kind of connected up, just to kind of go over the process, I mean, I would have wanted to clean all these tubes out perfectly. They're good for the most part for what we're doing here for the demonstration, but that way you guys can kind of see what's going to happen. So I'm going to fill my reservoir. And as I'm filling my reservoir, you'll start to see that the coolant is going to start filling up into the all over the place. It's no big deal. A little bit of coolant. All right. And then you can see as gravity is too, it's going to go right up on the, kind of come up on the tube. I'm going to fill this reservoir pretty much to the top. Because you want to try to see how many, the least amount of passes you can make when you first turn the system on.
And then
so
we're going to wrap the fittings. Still want to wrap the fittings?
Yeah, we'll do that before we boot it up, and we'll go over that there too. Cool. So this is 1,000 milliliters of coolant that comes in the bottle. Should be fine for up to a 480 radiator with a single, going for like CPU. Anything more than that, I'd probably recommend to pick up a second bottle. I mean, you definitely won't use two of them, but
it's nice having extra.
It's nice to have a little bit extra. So we got some questions here while we're doing this. So Steve and Jane, will TT have glass tubes in the future? We currently don't have any plans for glass because a lot of the challenge with glass is that it can't be bent by the end user per se, and you got to buy specialty pieces and stuff. And I know there's some people that are definitely making some really cool products with that, but it's not something we're focused on for global market right now. And then we got Bullseye 101 question: does the tubing come in different colors? We looked into that and we wanted to offer some different options for the tubing color, but then we decided to go with just clear and offer more coolant options as well. Because a lot of tubing manufacturers that will make the tubing don't necessarily make their own coolant or have a direct company that makes the coolant for them per se. Because some people actually outsource their coolant from other places, but we do make this coolant here actually in Germany. So we want to stick with that. So now that I got this pretty much full, and I got like a full bottle here with this.
Let's get the last paper towels over here.
You need more paper towels?
No, I think I'm good.
Oh, okay.
You just might need one on your side. Oh.
So, hey, Anthony, explain to them what you're doing here.
Well, basically what I did is, in the off chance that we possibly have a leak, the paper towels should catch it, in theory.
Yeah.
If I put them down correctly, but yes.
Yeah, and then so, a lot of times, this isn't necessarily to stop the leak per se or, kind of hold everything together, but more to be like, a warning sign for us. Granted, these ones have coolant on them.
Yeah.
But because, a white paper, it's so easy to detect something as bright as red that we'll use the coolant or use the paper towels just to, kind of place. A lot of it's definitely going to be over the CPU area and over the pump area. And, just to kind of go back, some people will do, leak testing with distilled water. Perfectly fine. It's very easy to fill with distilled water. It's inexpensive. And then you can fill the system, let that run, check your temps, make sure everything's okay. And then you can drain that distilled water out and then put your coolant in there to finish up the build.
And then earlier you had a pretty good example of what to do so that if it does leak, your components aren't on.
Yeah, so, all right. So one of the best friends that we offer inside of our kits is our little jumper guy here. So whenever you're filling your system, if you do have a leak, or maybe you're just concerned about a leak and you want to take it in the best case scenario, we offer a 24-pin jumper. What this does is it disables the power for the motherboard, the graphics card, so there's nothing power going through the capacitors, the resistor components here, so that way if we do have a leak, it's likely not going to fry the system because everything actually doesn't have power going through it. Most of this coolant is somewhat anti-conductive, so it's not going to just short everything out like regular tap water would be. So it does have that advantage for it too.
And then we have another question from Go Away.
Okay.
If you're, let's say, a few millimeters short in terms of coolant, can you add in distilled water? Will you be okay with that?
Yep, totally. I mean, if you're running a little shy, filling it with distilled water, it won't, I mean, it probably won't even change the color all that much as long as you're not putting too much in there. But yeah, distilled water is a great little add-on. That would be what you would use to, fill a little bit more if you're just a little shy of what, and you don't want to spend the money to buy, another bottle. So now that we have everything filled, we got everything kind of ready to go, we're all set, we've got our jumper on here. So what this is going to do is that when Anthony is going to hit the switch on the power supply, everything is going to instantly turn on, just like if I hit the power button here. But the great advantage is that Anthony will be able to turn it off by the power just in an instant, so we don't let our coolant level go down below where the pump is, because we don't want our pump to run dry. So Anthony, why don't you go ahead and...
And on that really quick too, just this way there's no power being sent to anything.
Correct.
In essence, yeah.
So if it did leak right here, most of this stuff should be safe. I mean, and you're right here, of course, too. So cleaning it up real quick and easy should be fine versus like you had your system running for days on end and then all of a sudden it just leaked when you weren't even there. And then you come back and everything's off and you have a puddle on the ground, so.
All right, you ready?
Again, a lot of that is, I think I'm ready. So let's go for it. So we'll turn our system on in here and then you guys can see the coolant flowing. We're watching our level here on our pump. I'm going to start squeezing a little more in so we can kind of keep it going. And you can see now that we have our return going back into our reservoir. Now as we're just kind of going here just in the very beginning, double check for leaks, guys. Make sure you're looking to see, is it spraying out anywhere? Did something not get tight enough? I mean, kind of pull this out. Yeah, we're looking good. We're looking good. So then something like this is what's going to give you that look, that build. You can pick any color that you want. You can be able to set it up how you want it. Now, we have just the pump and some other Molex devices that are plugged in right now, like some LEDs, but basically the whole system is off. And this is a safety feature, so that way with the system being off, if I did have a problem, which as you can see, we didn't. Good job. Good job, Anthony. That, you can easily shut it down, clean it up, and likely no worries. Everything should be fine. Now we'll sit here and we'll let this run. We'll leave our cap off the top here just to kind of let the system like depressurize itself. I mean, you'll get some bubbles, you'll get some foam that will build up in here, but most of it should dissipate within a short period of time. And you can see that, with the tubing, you get a nice solid look with that opaque coolant that just gives just an awesome presentation.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's that super solid look. It doesn't even look like anything's moving until you actually get down to that reservoir.
Yeah, I mean, we could actually fill this reservoir all the way to the top. And people, I get people ask us all the time when we go to events and stuff, like, is the tubing red? or is that's the coolant in there? So, filling the reservoir up also with this opaque coolant gives that clean look of like nothing's moving. And you're like, dude, is it moving? So it really gives a really nice look to
cool.
it. A lot of people will kind of leave it here too, so that, they like to see the water flow. Sometimes there's no right or wrong. If it's all the way to the top, all the way to the, not all the way to the bottom, but, give yourself a little bit of space. I would say on both ends of this, if that's what you want to do. So we got another question here. Shrub 17, is there one input on the top and that's it on the pump, or is there one near the out on the bottom as well? So on this is a pump reservoir combo. So with a pump reservoir combo, you'll have one fitting that will be out here on the bottom, and then I got two fitting options here on the top. One's going to be the down stem where I'm going to put my tubing into, and then the other end's going to be for my stop plug or my cap that I'm going to cap off the other end, so we don't get anything spilling out there. Now if you wanted to do a separate port, or you want to do something where maybe you want to create yourself your own drain valve, we have fittings like this one right here, which is a 90-45. So this fitting actually has your 90 with a compression fitting screwed in. But if you look kind of close here, I don't know if you can see, there's another stop plug in this part as well. Now, if I didn't fill the system just yet, I can take this stop plug out and I could put another fitting in here and make a drain, use some leftover tubing that I have to make a soft tubing. Yeah, or even get some soft tubing and, make something where I can connect it up, and then use that to drain out. And then another thing that's great too, you know, our radiators, they're 5-port radiators. So you got 2 ports in the back, 2 ports in the front, and you got a nice convenient drain port down here on the bottom.
That's awesome.
So it doesn't stop you from being able to put a quick little 90 on the bottom, put a fitting on it, and run some soft
And,
tube. Or
earlier, you were talking about you guys had quick disconnects. I
Yeah.
thought that was awesome.
I
that's
told-
great.
yeah.
It takes all the work out.
So we have a quick disconnect option too. So the fitting itself will turn and then it will lock, basically blocking off the coolant, no mess, no spill. And then when you just apply it and turn it back on, it opens the valve and everything can drain out. And then that way you also don't have this big old long drain thing
Yep.
kind of hanging off. And it makes it real convenient for people looking
I
to,
mean,
you know.
can just store that long plug somewhere else and then just connect it whenever you need to drain it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Yep, yep.
awesome.
So we got another question here. So Dirt Zoo, need the name of that coolant brand. So this right here is our Thermaltake. This is the opaque C1000 coolant. It's available in 7 different colors right now, and you can definitely pick it up here at newegg.com.
Just in case.
Yeah, no problem. And we do have some variety of colors. So if you guys didn't see that earlier on the show, you kind of go back. We have 7 different colors that this is available. Kind of
Should we
just
show off a little bit of the UV properties.
Oh, you know what? That's a. Do we have some time? What are we doing?
Let's see here.
What are we looking at? 15 minutes?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
Here's the box. Let me grab the lights. Yep.
So we got a little bit of time left here, guys. So if you guys have any questions or you want to see anything, please let us know. You know, I won't do that. Where's the
Flashlight?
little flashlight go?
Right here.
Oh, there it is. Cool.
And then that was the box to put it in if you still want
Oh,
it.
no, that's fine. That's fine.
Well, then just.
Oh, I wish I had the. Does he have that green bottle? Can we grab that green bottle
yeah,
real
it's
quick?
still okay over there.
Just want to show some people at home. Let me see. I'm not taking it back. I promise.
No backseas.
So coolants will have their own, you know, natural type of UV to it. Certain brands will, you know, certain colors and everything, of course, will have UV. So you want to turn that on. So when you look at coolants, when you look at something like a green coolant that's here, this green is always going to have a natural UV color to it. Where if you look at red, you can tell that there's no UV reaction to the red or like the yellow. But I mean, you get over here to like the purple pink color, it has a nice UV, natural UV that's built into it. And a lot of this can be done with UV lighting, you know, blue LEDs and stuff that can really add, you know, a really crazy look to it. And a lot of times people can also, even with the white, gives a little bit of a UV, you add some dye into this, make it just about any color you want.
So
Yeah.
question, what can you do in this case to accentuate?
Okay, so great question. So he is asking what can you know, what type of lighting will work to give me that UV look, right? So there are a lot of different LED options that are out there that can do some really crazy UV stuff. Another good option you can do is a blue LED. So any type of LED strip like our Lumi RGB that can do, you know, RGB, you know, setting that up with a nice blue will give that like UV type of look to it. But something like this, it's like an ultraviolet type of light would be ideal, you know, more of a specialty type of thing that you can find and you can pick up. And it can really make a big difference. I also want to mention too, since we're talking about UV, that you know, we just came out with some new power supply extensions. So these new extensions are available for all power supplies actually, because these are extensions, so they fit in any system.
That's
and
awesome.
These come in 4 different colors. You saw the red here, and then we have orange, blue, and green. And I just want to show you guys, you know, just how poppin' that green gets. I mean, it's
Radioactive.
radioactive. And you know, one of the best things that we're offering here with these new cable sleeves is, you know, besides saving fingers from having to sleeve all this stuff yourself, is that we come with cable combs. So all these cables, when you're looking at the 24-pin, your 8-pin EPS, you'll get 2 8-pin PCI Express and 2 6-pin PCI Express. Each one of those cables will come with 4 cable combs, so that'll allow you to be able to get, you know, that professional look, keeping everything nice and straight, you know, from what you'll see out there where, you know,
Well, I mean, if
cable
you're-
combs are hard to come by sometimes.
Yeah, if you're comparing a PC with just standard cabling versus, you know, custom sleeved cables with combs, it's just, there's no comparison.
I mean, when you look
That
at
looks
it, and
just so much cleaner.
dude, it changes the color of your whole system. I mean, if you're looking for a green build and everything was black, what a difference red cabling or something like that can bring to
thinking
the
about
table.
Most 24 pins, I mean, you have all multicolors right here, and
Yeah.
that generally throws off your system. Or if you get sleeved cables, a lot of times people, like you said, they can't get the combs. It's hard to get sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
And all these 24 sleeves right here basically will just go all over the place.
Oh, and
So
it's
this
just
is
a
great. They're sitting right on top of each other.
and it's met and it
Yeah.
gets all
You-
bunched
you
up
can-
in like a
you-
circle
yeah,
kind of
you
thing.
can fold it, and I mean, I've seen others where it's just they're literally all over the place, and it just doesn't look
Look,
good,
look.
especially if you did
Look how easy.
different color schemes.
Look, I just ripped this out of here. It's like no problem. These things snap in. They're plastic. All you got to do is just make sure you line everything up, and then boom, boom.
Yeah, it just makes life so much easier.
And you can reuse these. I mean, and then the great thing is, if you've had a power supply from 10 years ago, or you have a power supply you just
good.
bought 10 days ago, this thing's gonna work. It's gonna work for anything that you got. So what are the prices on those cables? Hey, Andre Stewart, thanks for the question. I believe these retail for $49.99. And you'll get the 24 pin, the 8 pin EPS, and then you'll get 2 6 and 2 8s for your GPU. So, if you got a dual 8 GPU, it's got you covered, dual 6s, whatever in between. So great little set. Cable combs, you get 4 combs per cable. So like, if you're doing just a single 8 and a 6 like this, I actually got 8 now that I can use for this because I'm not using those other 2 cables.
Nice.
Or I can, mix and match or whatever. If I plan to upgrade down the road, maybe add a second card because everybody
there we
likes
go.
SLI.
Yep.
You'll have those options there to be able to extend it out. Yeah. Huh? Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he's brought up a good point. So let's. Oh, I got one right here.
That Corsair link is
So to complement our new cables that we just came out with, we got a new series of power supplies that we're also launching here as part of our SPM program. So this is our new Tough Power DPS RGB power supply. So this power supply actually has our patented Ring RGB fan built in inside.
I love those fans.
Dude,
I
mean,
can't get
being
enough.
able to choose any color on this, if it's mounted on the bottom, you get a great underglow and a little side action here. Put it in the P5 front and center. It will give you that nice underglow RGB LED light that you'll get. It's a digital power supply.
I've even actually seen builds where you have to mount it fan facing upwards, and out of all the power supplies available, I mean, this is one of the better options for that.
Yeah, I mean,
If you have to mount it fan facing up, might as well have a gorgeous fan with it.
yeah, because a lot of people will
LED.
switch out the fan and they'll put something like an LED fan in there, but you know what you do? You void that warranty.
Exactly.
And you're also messing with power stuff, and a lot of people don't really like to mess with that. Now, another thing that's great about our new digital power supplies, besides the RGB, is that they're fully modular and they come with built-in software. So this power supply not only will give me digital performance, it gives me a cool RGB lighting on it, but the power supply also comes with a software suite that will allow you to be able to see your wattage, be able to see your efficiency in real time. I mean, you can check, one of the things that I like the best is that I can go to my phone. My phone actually told me it just updated about an hour ago, I think, when I heard it buzz, but we have an application that's actually built into both Android and iOS where I can actually go in here and see what the statistics are on my power supply. If my power supply dies, say you're an MMO guy like me, or you have your system on all the time and the fan dies, it will tell you. If there's a power outage or this goes down and shuts down, you'll get alerts that are built in here to be able to show you those options. And then with that, I can also go in here and choose different values. I can set date ranges. If I want to see how my efficiency was for 6 months or 6 days, I can check that. I can check what my fan speed average is, my efficiency average. You got 3.3, 5 volt, 12 volt. I mean, you name it. It's doing a bunch of different features, and it all comes free of charge here with our new digital power supplies.
That's just great. That's a ton of features. Just
And
for power supply, I mean.
and then you bundle this here with the RGB. You kind of line this up. I mean, you got the full thing.
You're basically set up to go with whatever color scheme you just about can think of.
And the other thing that we want to do is, here at Thermaltake, we're definitely trying to take the next step forward. So these new digital RGB power supplies, we also bumped it up to a 10-year warranty, guys. So this has a 10-year warranty with it.
great.
It comes with all the smart software that you can need. The fan will shut off when not needed, so it's super quiet. I mean, 0 decibel fan on your power supply with efficiency improving day after day here lately. We want to bring in something that's going to give you the best performance, and that's the Tough Power DPSG RGB power supplies. So definitely take a look at these guys. We're just getting these into the U.S. here. I mean, again, a lot of this stuff's all bleeding edge. And how much, what do we got? Do I got time to show them something? 5 minutes? 5 minutes. So as part of like a little special surprise, we wanted to offer a free case to the system. Can we do that last? Can I do something real quick first? Okay, perfect. Can you follow me over here? Will you reach all the way? So hey guys, so what I'd like to do here is I want to introduce, this is what we called Project 27, aka the View 27 case. This is our new mid-tower chassis that we'll be coming out with here in Q3. And with this case, it has the View. It has a curved glass front panel that's on here, and it also has a nice a tinted glass front panel with side ventilation in it. And the GPU actually mounts right here in the front or traditionally. So you can do 2 options with this. This is a brand new chassis. This is my first sample. No one's seen this except you guys for the first time ever here in the US. So this is our new View 27 chassis. And we're gonna get this all set up here after the weekend. And we're gonna try to get this guy out to QuakeCon so people can play with it. So take a look and get ready for our new View 27 case. And just to add a little bit more here, we've housed this with our new TT Premium fans. So our new TT Premium fans are right around the corner. This is a software controlled fan that allows software options here where I can change the fan colors on the fly. As you can see, as I change the fans, 1, 2, 3, I can pick individual colors for the fans. I can turn blink features on and off to make it static. I have RGB options that I can do as well. It shows me a RPM. I can put it in, performance mode, slow mode, and be able to get that ring look with even more features. We also listened to you guys about the cords. A lot of people said, hey, this is too short. Well, guess what? We doubled the length on the cords. So the new ring fans have a double long length cord. So there should be no issues with anybody getting to reach and fit with where you want to go. And then this being all software controlled, you don't have to worry about where that box is going to be, where you're going to set it all up. It can all be controlled very easily here from your software application with our new TT Premium software fans. So keep an eye out for these guys. They're coming soon. We just got these in.
Super excited.
All right. So let's get to some prizes. We got,
Sounds great.
okay. So I got that P3. Do we got anything else? Okay. So what I want to do, how many people we got on right now? How many people are watching? 109 people. Wow, this is going to be good. Okay, so for all you guys out there, we're going to be giving away a Core P3. I have either a black one or a white one. Whoever wins, you guys get to pick. We'll get your contact info, and then you guys can tell me if you want the white one or the black one, and we'll ship it right to your door. So with this right here, we got to come up with a contest.
Oh, I know. We got to think of a contest name.
Let's see. What do we want to do?
I'm on the spot.
What's a good one? Okay, I got it. I got it. So with, I don't want to make it too hard.
Yeah.
I don't want to make it too hard. Let's make it easy.
Okay.
All right.
Don't make it too easy.
Well, no, don't make it too easy. Okay. I'm gonna think of a number. Is that too easy?
Oh, I like this.
That's like what do you and don't do that.
Oh, okay.
Write a number, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Nobody can read your mind. Ask a question and today we'll know the answer. Something that you did today.
He's got a good point.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay, so first person to answer this question in the chat. Okay, that's what we're gonna do. First person to answer this question in the chat. What is it that you do to the tubing before you put it into the fitting? What's the most important thing that you do before you put it into the fitting? Go. First person wins a Core P3. This is for our online guys. Let's see who gets it. Zomsky.
Furious typing right now.
Zomsky's the first one. Congratulations, my friend.
Nice.
You won a Core P3. Okay. Zomsky, please message Newegg TV for your contact information. They'll get it sent over to me, and hey, we'll get you that Core P3 out the door, man. So let us know, definitely also let us know if you want the black version or the snow edition. And we really appreciate you guys coming out here to attend the feed and be able to give us some questions. We hope you guys enjoyed seeing a brief build live here of our Core P5 doing some hard tubing. A lot of our new products that we have coming out here for Thermaltake. And definitely don't forget that you can pick all of this stuff up here and more at newegg.com. And I do definitely want to give a big shout out to Oh, okay, Zomsky, private message Newegg TV. Please do not post your shipping information, email address online.
No number or none of that stuff.
Yeah, no credit card
waiting
numbers or
outside
anything.
for that
So
package to
make
get
sure
delivered.
you guys. I mean, unless you want it.
that's
I mean,
me.
that's okay. But congrats again. Thank you guys all for watching. And I gotta give a big thanks to
man.
Newegg and the Hybrid Center here.
And all the people present.
And all the people that showed up. I mean, we had people here since 10 a.m., hung out all day. We stayed cool. We built systems. We got lots of cooling done and everything.
heat.
We beat the heat with Thermaltake. So we want to say thanks again to everybody, and definitely a big thanks. We love you guys here at the Newegg Hybrid Center. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
We had a lot of fun. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
For all the prizes too.